Time off. Time off. This is a tough thing for pastors. Some pastors really struggle with this. They really struggle with taking time off because, especially if you have a larger church, the more people you have, the more problems you have, the more issues you have. When you have a smaller church, you still have problems, but of course not to the same magnitude. But oftentimes in a smaller church, you're the only one. You are the pastor. You don't have associates. You don't have counseling ministers. You don't have somebody else you can lean on. So it's all you. And so for church leadership, this is really a big part of your role as church bishops, elders, deacons, whatever you want to call them, to go and minister to the people and also to minister to your pastor. And so I want to talk about time off, and initially a day off. When I first became a youth pastor, I had no experience. I had worked in kids camps for years, and I sat down with the church that had hired me, and they said, Mike, we don't know anything about kids. You do, so we're putting this in your hands. You do it. And so they gave me an incredible amount of freedom, which was a great blessing. And also one of the leaders said to me, one of the elders, he said, Mike, just one thing, make sure you take a day off every week. And I appreciated the thought, but I didn't quite get it at the time. I said, I'm going to take 2 days off every week, because I didn't know that most pastors just take 1 day off a week. I mean, most people I knew work 40 hours a week. Anything beyond that's overtime. And so I thought, well, this is just typical. 1 day off a week. But if you've ever worked a job with 1 day off a week over and over and over, it can get tiring. It can get tedious, especially for pastors who don't have normal hours generally. A lot of them try to, but you never know when somebody in your congregation is going to have an issue, have a problem. You can have one person in your congregation that no one else knows about that calls the pastor daily, sometimes multiple times a day when they're going through something. And pastors understand that, and pastors aren't, hang up the phone for the most part saying, don't call me. But you need to understand that pastors need that time. And so I would challenge you to really consider making sure your pastor has 2 days off a week, not just that 1 day, but 2 days. And that's going to require less from him, which is going to require more from you. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for the pastors, because pastors love their people. Pastors love the sheep. They love the people that God's put in their care. And so they're going to want to spend the time with the people. They're going to want to do that. There's a lot of churches I've seen that do extra things to bless the pastor and to help make sure they get that time off. And all those things are fantastic, and that's something you should, as leadership, should talk about, pray about, and talk with your pastor about. Make sure that he's getting the time he needs with his family, because one of the great problems for pastors is neglecting their own families because they're caring about yours. And that's it's one of those cliches, the pastor's kids who go wild, and a lot of that is because either the pastor's not there. Sometimes it's just the pressure put on the kids to be perfect. A lot of pastors have problems in their marriage because they're so focused on everyone else's problems. And it's been said many times before, ministry is an easy place to hide. You can hide from your own problems and focus on everybody else. So I would encourage you again to make sure your pastor gets that time off, and make sure that they have vacation time. Make sure your pastor has vacation time. We'll talk about that in the next video.